Welcome to another of our series of needle felting videos. This is Sue Bunch from Back to Back Fiber Products, and our needle felting video for this class is to make this small needle felted snowman. You can see it's pretty small, just fits nicely in your hands, and I've made a couple of different ones. This one holding a snow baby, which I think is a particular kit and the supplies that come with it to be as a memory of the terrible storm of 2014, which they called the polar vortex, I think. I live here in Arizona, but my sister and business partner in Michigan and some of our friends back east and family have stories of this terrible storm, and I thought it might be fun to have a quick little kit, and I'm calling it Make and Share. Make it and share it. Make one for yourself and make one to share. So there'll be enough materials to make 2 of these little snowmen. And the other thing that's fun about it is they don't take very long. You probably, even if you're a beginner and have never needed felted before, you probably can get one done in about an hour and a half. So a nice little evening project, quick and easy to do, and it's fun to have one to make for yourself, and it's also fun to share. While you're working on it, you can be thinking of them and things about them, maybe the colors they like, and it's very fun to give it to them. Maybe a co-worker, a family member, or someone in the nursing home, one of your kids or grandkids. So I'll show you the materials that we need to make these little snowmen, and then we'll get right to it. The things that you'll need are to have some sort of white roving, and this we're using is what we call core wool, and it's nice and fluffy. It will come in the kit, and there'll be enough to make these 2 little snowmen, and it's nice and fluffy to work with. If you have some alpaca sitting around or some extra white wool, that will work as well. And then we're going to need some black, either wool or alpaca, for the eyes and the mouth, and sometimes if you like to do little buttons, and then some extra colored wool roving or alpaca roving to use for any accessories, if you want to put scarves or mittens or earmuffs or little hats or whatever like that. So those are the materials, and then the tools you'll need will be a felting needle, and those of you who've never used one before, this is what they look like. They have little barbs at the end. Under a microscope, they look like fish hooks. If you look at them and turn them in your hand in the sun, you see little flecks of light sparkling off those little hooks. And as you punch down through animal fibers, this only works with animal fiber, as you punch down through it or into it, as we're going to be doing with the snowmen, it takes the fiber, the scales on animal fiber, and bonds it together and turns it to felt. And so we can sculpt with it like this particular project. And in the kit, I've included a small piece of foam, and this works nicely for different parts of it, especially for if you're doing a little carrot nose, or if you're doing the little eyes and the scarves or hats or things like that. So these are the things that are going to come in your kit, or if you have them around home, those are the type of things that you're going to need to collect. So after you get your materials collected, come on back here, bring your felting needle and your core wool, and we'll get started. Part of our project is to make the body of the snowman, this part here. And you see it's probably about 6 inches or so tall, and of course you can vary it. You could make lots of little tiny ones if you wanted, and use the materials in the kit and make one that's a little bit larger instead of the 2 that I've suggested here. So, but we're going to talk about just the basics of building that snowman body. And I did it as we often see snowmen in 3 distinct sections, but it could be, you could have a head and just one body shape, so without the distinction here for the waist. So there's different ways to do it, and the method I'm going to show you I thought was the quickest and easiest. When you unroll your roving, you'll see it every time you get roving, some of it's very thin and some of it's thick and wide. So this particular one I made, the roving was so wide that all I needed to do was to just roll it up. This particular piece is a little bit narrower, so I'm going to pull it apart like that and kind of fluff it out and thin it out just a little bit and lay it down on your table, your work surface. I'm going to move my little snowman back here so I have a little bit more space to work. And then I'm going to take another piece and lay it right beside. I'm going to cut it about the same size and fluff it out again. And you don't really need to measure it or anything. I just kind of get started and start working on. Then I'm going to kind of overlap it a little bit here. You can see how I have those two pieces and I'm overlapping the one here. Then I'm just going to start rolling it up. And try to roll it up as tightly as you can with your fingers here. And sometimes I even take my felting needle and I just sort of poke it in a little bit here. Watch it, you don't poke yourself. And it just sort of tacks it and holds it in place. Because the core wool is quite springy. And as you work with it, as you start rolling it, it'll want to spring back to its original shape. So you see what I'm doing here? You just keep rolling it up and tack it a little bit as you go along here. Now you can, if you want to, this is kind of a big piece to roll, but if you want to, you can put it on your foam and tack it along like that. So there's lots of different ways to do it, and as you work on it, you'll kind of get the feel of what works for you. Now, you're just going to keep rolling like that and tack it down to itself. And now you're going to kind of tack a little bit at the ends and kind of make this long cylinder. And so just keep rolling and tacking and rolling and tacking. Now this, I like to start out with a cylinder. So you're just going to keep tacking it down like this and make this long cylinder. Now, obviously, this is too thin for a snowman, unless you want to make a really tall, thin one. So I'm going to keep adding roving to it. So I'm going to take another piece here, and I'm going to, what I'm going to do is add it around to the bottom here, so the bottom part of it will be wider than the top. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm just rolling. I'm just going to pull it off. And you can just do this quickly. You don't have to measure or anything. Just kind of pull it like that. Now you can see it's already getting a little bit wider here at the bottom. And I'm just going to keep tacking. Now, with needle felting, if you've never done this before, the longer you punch, the denser it gets. At this point, it's very, very fluffy. But you want to keep working on this. This is what usually takes the most time of needle felting, is that just this punching motion that you use. And of course you have to watch out for your hands so you don't poke yourself. The longer you punch, the denser this will become. So if you want to take it's sort of hard to see when you're just looking at the camera if you can't feel it in your hands. But it's obviously much denser than this one here. So that's what you're going to be doing. Most of your project is going to, for this particular one, is to just be punching, 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 and shaping. And as you'll begin to see as you work with your needle, you can actually begin to sculpt with this. And the other thing you're going to do as you're working along here and getting the different, getting it sculpted and shaped, this is going to be the bottom of this particular snowman. You're going to have to spend a lot of time punching on the bottom. And as you punch here, this will get much, much more dense. And as you can see from this one, it's very hard and smooth and flat. So that's what's going to make it stand up nicely. So spend a lot of time punching on the bottom and getting it nice and flat and dense so it'll stand up nicely. And then continue working around and adding to it. Now this part is getting probably about the size I want for the bottom, and I will have a lot more to work on. And then here where the head is, I'll probably continue punching here, and it will punch down quite a bit, and it will get a lot smaller than what it is right now, which is probably what I want for this particular snowman. And so I'm just going to keep working here, and you do the same with yours. And I think on this one I'm going to add a little bit more here to the center, to what would be the middle section of the snowman. I'm going to add a little bit more here, right around the midsection. Just lay it around there, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm just punching it in here. There we go. And that's the fun thing about these little snowman projects. It doesn't matter how they come out. Snowmen are fun to do. If you're making them out in the snow or making them as a felting project, every one of them comes out fun. They'll have their own personality, and you'll have fun things to think about. While you're working on it, just be careful that you don't poke yourself, and just be careful as you move around. If you're concerned about punching yourself, you can lay it on the table like this and roll it back and forth. Just hold the needle like this, and you see how I'm rolling it here, and that's another way that you can work on it. This part will take the longest. So keep working on yours, and when you come back, hopefully you'll have it down to a shape that's about like this, and kind of the snowman shape, and then we'll start talking about how you do the hands and some of the different features and the accessories on it. Have fun with your needle felting. I'll see you back here in just a little bit. Welcome back. I just wanted to spend a little time talking to you about shaping your snowman at this point, and you can see how mine's looking. I've been needle punching all around the whole shape of the snowman, and it's getting a lot more dense than it was when we first started looking at it. And then with mine, I wanted to have a definite where the waist would be, and then I'm going to have a place where the neck is going to be. So I've been working quite a lot here, and you may have already figured out as you've been working on yours, the longer you punch, not only the denser it will get, but you can start sculpting. So as you can see here, as I'm working around at the waist, and you just continue punching, punch, punch, punch like that. And as you do that, you'll get much more definition, and you can see how it's shaping right in here. Now, I haven't done much up here at the neck. I made a little line here to sort of give me an idea of where I wanted that to be, but I haven't done much on it yet. So now that's my next part, and I'm going to work on that. So you do the same with yours, and when you get your final body shape, about like how you want your snowman, then we'll start talking about finishing it up, doing its features and the accessories and some of those fun things that you can add and give your snowman its own little personality. So have fun with your needle felting, and I'll see you back here in a little bit. Now I have my snowman body shape about like what I want it to be, and you can see what it looks like here, and maybe yours looks something similar. You can always add to it, as you probably have figured out. If you wanted this part to be larger, you can just add more roving and punch it in. The other thing you can think about is something that I tried differently with some of mine. This one I did with the flat bottom, so it stands up pretty good. Take a look at both of these. This one I felted so it comes pretty much straight down the side and sits right flat on the table. This one sits nice on the table too, but I curved it off on the bottom to look more like a ball. So there's different ways to do it. You can, as you work along on yours, you'll see what works for you. And that's what's fun about needle felting, is it becomes a very personal art form, and no matter how it comes out, they're always very fun and cute, and it's a fun project to work on. Now the next thing I want to talk about is how to do the arms. And with mine, you can do them different ways, but I wanted to just show you how to make the little arm like this, and then talk about different ways that you can make them as well. I start out with a little piece of the roving, probably something about like this is good enough. And then I start rolling it again. And this time maybe I'll work here on the foam. Oh, come back here, they're getting a little tippy on me. So I'm just going to start rolling it up here, and I'll start tacking it in a little bit too, because I just want a little bit of a cylinder here. And sometimes I roll the end of it in like that. And just roll it along and tack along here. And roll it again. And tack it to itself. Like that. Now you can see it's starting to make this little cylinder type of an arm shape. So all I did was just to make a little cylinder like that. Now you want to leave some poofy roving at the end that's not needle felted. I'm going to pull some of this off, because we're not going. This is what we're going to attach to the body of the snowman. At this part we're going to needle felt. So I spend a little bit of time, just like I did with the body of the snowman, punching, punching, punching here, and getting it a little bit more dense. So I'm just going to keep working on it like that. And then I'm going to do the second arm. And then when I come back, we get how you would go about doing that. So that's what you're going to do. Make yourself a couple little snowman arms and leave it fluffy at this end. And we'll see you back here in just a little bit when you have that part of the project complete. As you can see, I've completed my two little arms here that I'm going to put on the snowman. You can see here. And then I think I'm going to, on these others, I put little mittens. So I think I'm going to do that on this one too. And I have some of this pretty purple, kind of like. As you can see, I've completed my two little arms here that I'm going to put on the snowman. You can see here. And then I think I'm going to, on these others, I put little mittens. So I think I'm going to do that on this one too. And I have some of this pretty purple, kind of like a matter of wrapping it around the end of its little snowman hand here, and then punch it into the end of the arm here where a mitten would go. So I just like to lay it down on the foam like this. You can hold it in your hand like this. I think it's a little bit easier to put it on the foam. And just roll it back and forth and continue to punch it in. And of course, you don't even need little mittens on them, but it just, you think of the accessories that you want to put on your snowman. Do you want to put a cap on him, or do you want to put earmuffs, a scarf? You decide what might be fun for your snowman, and be thinking about that for the next step that we'll talk about. So we're going to do, I'm going to finish off the mittens and I'll show you how to attach the arms, and you can do that all in this same step. You just place the arm where you think you want it placed on the body of the snowman, and then that fluffy part that you kept there, that's the part that you're going to punch into the body. So just gently take that fluffy part and punch it into the body. and work all around on all sides. And you can hold it in your hands and work around on it here and just keep working. It'll get nice and dense and smoothed off, and you won't even, people will wonder, how did you even ever get that on there? But that's what you're going to do next. So when you come back, we'll have our arms on, and we'll talk about how to do the carrot nose and how to put your eyes on and finish up the accessories. See you back here in a little bit. Welcome back. You can see how far my little snowman's come along now. And I've got the arms put on, I've got his little mittens on, and then we can talk about different things you can do with their arms and their hands. If you want to have them just sticking out like this, that's cute just like that. If you want to have it wrapped around like this one I did holding the little snow baby, you just tuck their arm wherever you want it to go, and then you just needle felt it to their body. So do you see what I'm doing here? Just be careful you don't poke yourself, of course. That little baby has put too much weight on that mama's hip, and she keeps tipping over. I'm going to have to fix the bottom of that one. So you can see what I'm doing. Just needle felt around here. There you go. And you could do it like that. You could leave the other one up here to be waving hi. All you felters out there, and you can shape it around. Let's do this one so it looks like it's saying hi, or goodbye even. So we'll put that one up like that. Now let's talk about how we're going to do the carrot nose and the features on the face. To do the nose, you just take a little bit of roving, and like a little bit of orange here, and it doesn't take very much. You just take off a little puff like that. I like to start with a small amount like this, excuse me, and then kind of roll it over. And then I just start punching it into itself and roll it around and just keep rolling, 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 rolling like this. This will take a little bit of time until you get it shaped, but just keep rolling it on the foam and punching it with your needle, and you see how it's already starting to shape into a little cone shape of a carrot. So there you go, just keep punching like that and keep working on that, and just keep working, and then when you get that done, we'll come back and we'll talk about how to attach it to the face. And for the eyes, and if you want to put little buttons on or anything like that, it just takes the tiniest bit. I can probably barely even show it on here, but you take the tiniest little bit. You can barely see that there's any, maybe you can see on my hand, just the tiniest little bit of fiber. And you can roll it into a little ball. Sometimes I lick my fingers, or dip it in some water if you're working near the sink. And it just get a little bit of dampness in there, and it starts felting it into a little ball. And you can see there in my hand a tiny little ball that'll work for the eyes. So we'll need a couple of those, and then let's do the mouth right now. I pull off the tiniest, really like I mentioned, the tiniest little bit of fiber. It doesn't take very much at all, and it's just a very few little fibers. So when I pull off, because it's just a little snowman, it needs just a little mouth. Yeah, I'm going to lay it in my hand here, I'll show you. That might even be too much. But often then I roll it in my fingers. Do you see like that? How I'm rolling it in my fingers and it becomes almost like a tiny piece of yarn. That's actually what I'm doing, is spinning it into a yarn. And if it gets too long, you can pull it off or cut it off. Now, what I like to do sometimes is to figure out where the mouth is going to go. If it's just going to be a little mouth, a big smiley mouth, and then I make kind of like a little indentation with my needle. and where I want that to go. So maybe you can even see there on the camera as I'm punching, it's starting to make a little indentation where the mouth will go. Now another way to make the mouth is to make a lot of those little tiny black balls, and it could be like little pieces. Years ago we used to make the faces of our snowmen with pieces of coal. Don't think they have that much anymore around. But now you can see how I'm just laying that little thin piece of fiber there at the mouth. And if it's a little long up here, you can just tuck it back down where you started from. There it goes. Okay. There, you can see we've got the mouth going now. Get that all punched in there good. And maybe we'll put on the one eye. And again, same thing. Just gently with your needle, punch it in. Now, when you come back, have your little felted nose ready, your carrot nose, and your other eyes, your other eye. It looks kind of crazy with just one eye. And then we'll talk about how if you want to do a scarf or a hat or something like that. All right, we'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Okay, now I have my second eye on, finished the mouth, and here I've got my carrot nose finished, and I've got this little poofy end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scissors. You can pull it off with your fingers, but with this one it's probably just as easy to cut it. And then I'm going to needle felt a spot right where I want the nose to go, and sort of make a little indentation down into the head of the snowman here. And then place the nose in there, and then you're just going to needle felt all the way around to punch that in. Get my hands out of the way here so you can see what I'm doing. And you're just going to needle felt all the way around. Work quite a while because there's only a few fibers attaching this to the head of the snowman. So take your time and do a careful job, and it will stay in there pretty sturdy. Now it's coming along, looking cute. Now, let's talk about what we want to do next, because you might want to add some accessories. I'll show you what I've done with mine and some things that some other folks have done. This one I decided to do this little scarf, and I just took some of the roving, and I can show you how to make the scarf, and just wrapped it around so it looks like he's all wrapped up. You might have been wrapped up like that yourself this winter after that big storm. And this one I did something similar. This one you can see I actually rolled it over itself and made like a little knot, and then felted it down, and then felted it down here like this. You can see what I've done. I felted it right in there. This particular one, I didn't roll it over. I just sort of, you can see, I had it go this direction and then this direction here. So there's different ways you can do it. You decide yourself. You might want to do ones like a scarf that goes over her head. You could do it that way. You could do it as a belt around the waist. There's lots of different things you can do now. This one, you can see I gave her a little bit more of a bust line. She's carrying her little baby, so I wanted this to be a mama snowman. Mama snow lady, I guess we'll call her. So I added a little bit of a bust line to her and had her hold this little snow baby. I'll show you later how to make those little tiny snow babies. They're kind of fun to do. Now, a friend of mine, she made a couple of those snowmen for me, and she made some cute little hats, and I'll show you how hers came out. Here's her little snow people, and her scarf she just used the roving as it was and tied a little knot, and it came out real cute. And look what she did with the face, put the little colored cheeks, and she put the little tiny dots for the mouth, the little black dots, and she made a cute little, like a stocking cap here, and that came out real cute. This one she made like a little beanie cap. And the fun thing she did, which I think is kind of a smart idea, inside she found a little rock and put it inside and needle felted it so it stands up nice and sturdy, which I think is kind of a clever idea. So it's something you might want to think about for yours too. So we're having a whole party of snow people here. Now I'm going to show you about how to do the scarf here. You just need to take a strip of the roving and lay it down on there on your foam and punch it into itself. And it gives it a little bit more definition. You can see here. So give them a little poke and they flip right over. So you're just going to punch it into itself and turn it back and forth. Work on one side and then turn it over to the other side. And just keep punching it into itself and work back and forth along here. You can see how it's holding together here. Turn it over again and keep punching it into itself. Work back and forth until it holds together about how you want it to be. And then you can drape it on your snowman and make it to be just, it's your own personal piece, your little piece of felting art. Well, here's our little collection of snowmen, and they're sort of fun to see all grouped together here. Look like they're having a party. This is the one that I just finished up, and I decided to put little earmuffs on it and put this little scarf just crisscross across the chest. So that was a pretty easy way to do it. And you've seen the others. And so you have fun making yours. I hope you send me an email or join me on Facebook and share pictures of yours and tell us a story about the one that you shared with somebody. And I hope you have a special story that goes with it. Have fun with your needle felting. Now, if you stick around a little bit, I'll show you how to do this tiny little snow baby. I'll come back in a minute. It just takes a couple seconds to show you how to do it. Have fun with your felting. If you want to try to make a little snow baby, then I found a quick and easy way to do them here. I have one nearly finished. And so I just started out with a little piece of roving about like this. You can see how it fits in my hand here. It's about the size of the palm of my hand. And then I've folded it over in half. And this part's going to be the head and the body. And these pieces are going to become the legs. So all I did, and I'm just going to do this quickly here because you've been working on your snowman. I don't need to do as many details with this because you already know how to do some needle felting now. So just do that, just punch around. That's going to become the head. And make your definition of where the head's going to go. Then the next part's going to be the body. And where the legs are going to attach to the body there. And then, where's my little space here? Here's going to be the legs. And you just need to punch that into itself. And just keep rolling it around. It's a little tricky to work with, but not too bad. So that's going to be the legs. You can see there. And you can see I've been working on mine. So I have the head and the body. I added a little bit more roving to make a little fatter tummy. And punched here so he'd sit up a little bit. And I even needle felt a little bit around to make little feet. Then I've needle felted little kind of pear-shaped pieces, and that's what's going to be the arms, and I'm just getting ready to stick those on now. So there's our little snow baby. And they're pretty quick and easy to do. You could make a whole group of those. That might be a fun project too. To make a lot of tiny little snow babies. I was thinking it might be fun to even make it into like a little pin. Put a little pin back on it. And you could put a little face on it or not. So there's your snow baby. You folks have fun felting. Sure been fun having you join us. Bye-bye for now. Happy felting.